Good morning. Hope you guys had a really great weekend. Sorry I'm not there today, but we are going to move on with our introduction to Russia. So what we're going to take a look at today is basically take a look at the impact of our wonderful 7 revolutions, which we just had a test on Friday, and I will give that back to you tomorrow, and see how the 7 revolutions are actually impacting Russia. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is going to be population. So the Russian population is about 145 million, but the number is dropping a few thousand each year. It's expected to continue to drop in the future, and that is going to cause a lot of concern. There are 3 basic reasons why the population is declining. It's due to low fertility, very high and early mortality, especially for men, and immigration. So we're going to take a look at all 3 of these individually and how they actually are impacting the Russian population, not only the population, but the economy and their future. So when you take a look at our low fertility rates, Russian President Vladimir Putin had the parliament actually develop a plan to reduce the falling birth rate. The population decline is one of the most acute problems of modern Russia, and the government will spend $8.6 billion over the next 3 years to ensure people have more babies. Basically, the declining Russian population is going to be compared to a war zone. So it's almost the same as you're in sub-Saharan Africa during a conflict or in a post-conflict. The declining birth rate means that they're not going to have enough workers in the future to continue industrialization and or be a world power. So let's take a look at what this actually means for Russia. The parliament was asked to provide incentives for couples to have a second child and sometimes even a first child in order to try to increase the birth rate. Parents will be eligible for subsidized mortgages, lower payments, cash grants, extended maternity leaves, and enhanced daycare services if they have a first and second child. Incentives have increased the birth rate to 1.42, but it is still not enough. It's significantly lower than the natural birth rate. Even with incentives, the population may not increase. Part of the problem is people are not 100% sure if the government's actually going to fulfill their promises because the government has reneged on other deals in the past. The other reason is that the mass majority of women that are in their childbearing years were born in the 1990s, and that is also when you started to see a reduction of family size inside of Russia. So they are only children, or maybe they have a brother or sister, but they're not from very large families. And the economic burden of having a large family has drastically started to increase in Russia, so they're not willing to take on the additional financial responsibility. So not having children in Russia, or only having one child, has actually become the norm, not the exception. The Russian population actually is going to peak in the early 1990s, around the end of the Soviet Union. The Russian population has 5 million fewer people now than it did then. So in the 1991, we had 148 million people, and now we're down to 143. It's been estimated that the Russian population will continue to decline, eventually ending up at a mere 111 million people by 2050. The impact on the economy is going to be enormous. They are not going to have enough workers if they continue on this trend. So Russia is going to do a whole bunch of things in order to try to alleviate the impact of this, and that is going to be to solve the issues of low birth rate, high abortion rates, and high immigration. In terms of your low birth rate, it's due to a lot of things, but the biggest factor is actually going to be the high rates of alcoholism and economic hardship that you're going to experience if you have children. The current fertility rate is 1.3 births per woman, which is lower than the replacement fertility rate of 2.1 births, just to maintain the population size. So although you still have people who are having children, it's not at a fast enough pace to actually replace the number of deaths you have per year. The low fertility rate also means that the crude birth rate is low at 10 births per 1,000 people, while the world average is 20 births per 1,000 people. Russia is relying on incentives to hopefully increase the birth rate. The state will pay parents allowances of $180 for the first 18 months of life of their child. And then once the child is born, there is again this question of how willing is the government to fulfill their promises and continue with subsidized housing and subsidized money. You also have the issue of childcare. Childcare facilities in Russia are run by state-approved professional managers, and they vary widely in quality. So unless you are living in a city that is relatively wealthy area, you've got questionable childcare for your child after they are born. We also see in Russia relatively high abortion rates. Part of this is due to the fact that in the Soviet era, abortions were used as birth control and was a common practice. The practice is still being used today, which is one of the reasons, again, we have this very low birth rate. The current rate we see is that there are currently there's currently 1.6 million abortions compared to 1.5 million children that are actually born. The declining birth rate is also tied to the demise of the Soviet Union. Under the former Soviet Union, which was a communistic state, and their guaranteed housing and economic system and guaranteed state access to state-run enterprises like hospitals and medical care, we don't have that anymore in Russia today. And as a result of that, people are not really willing to have the additional children because they're not going to benefit from paid maternity leaves, preferential housing, and benefit packages anymore. The lack of affordable housing is also causing adults to live with their parents for a lot longer, well into their childbearing years. Currently, there's 86% of the adult population that's not eligible to get a mortgage so they can own their own home. So they're forced to rent or to still live with their parents. So they're delaying marriages for a longer time, which also means that they're delaying the childbirth as well. Women also are waiting in some cases to inherit property from older relatives before starting a family. The other thing we need to take a look at when dealing with Russia is a very high and early mortality rate, especially for men. Russia is experiencing unusually high death rates from non-natural causes, and it's actually going to be the very first time in Russian history that the death rates are going to exceed the births. The current death rate in Russia is 15 deaths per 1,000 people per year, which is higher than the world's average of 9 deaths per 1,000 people. One possible cause for the high death rate is going to be alcoholism and alcohol-related emergencies. You've seen an increase in cardiovascular disease, liver disease, pancreatitis, cancer, ulcers, and gastrointestinal problems, immune system deficiencies, and brain damage due to alcohol abuse. You also are going to see a much higher related crime and accidents related to alcohol as well. It is extremely difficult to actually alter this because of the healthcare system is not necessarily very efficient currently, and you also are going to have to change the culture there in order for people to realize the bad aspects of alcohol abuse in order to try to stop it. The other problem you see with alcohol abuse is you're also seeing a very high death rate among your younger population because of their alcohol consumption. Death rate in Russia is relatively high and the life expectancy is relatively low. It's estimated that men will die about 59 years and women will live to about 72 years. The difference is basically equated to the high rates of alcoholism among men compared to women. A significant proportion of your deaths, again, are going to be within this working population, which is a population you want around in order to improve your economy, which raises questions about your economic future for Russia. Russia would like to follow the demographic transition model, which is moving for an economy heavily based on natural resources to manufacturing and then services, but they can't do this without workers. Experts are going to estimate that there will be a labor shortage of 14 million skilled workers by 2020, and it's not only an economic issue, but it's also going to be a military issue. Russia typically has an extremely large military and an active military. If they are going to have this low birth rate, they're not going to be able to have soldiers in the future in order to maintain their security. So we are also going to see that we've got to deal with our worker situation by actually bringing in workers. So we do have immigration going into Russia, and it is going to increase as they're slipping deeper and deeper into an economic recession. The type of Russians that are leaving the countries actually has changed, which is going to be one of the reasons why it's so significant today. Today, the people of Russia that are leaving are going to be very highly intellectual. Most of them are going to have college degrees. They're going to be doctors and engineers and scientists and entrepreneurs and also teachers. So they're not going to be able to set up the next generation if this group of people are going to be absent. In the past, what you saw in terms of people who are going to be leaving Russia in the former Soviet Union, they were basically manual laborers. So they could easily be replaced with a much larger population. Now, you don't have that large population and the type of workers leaving, so you're going to see a lot of problems starting to occur inside of your economy. Most of the people, again, are going to be highly skilled, which is going to impact the economy. You're also going to see an impact in the educational services and healthcare systems in the future. So innovative companies and projects are largely going to be located outside of Russia, and private enterprise in the country will diminish substantially. Russia already lags behind the world in average money directed towards research and development, but losing people is only going to decrease their standing in the world altogether. As a result, Russia will continue to depend on state-run industries and energy revenue to stay afloat and make their economy run, making the whole country relatively vulnerable to outside shocks such as changes in oil prices, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, but we are going to see that's going to happen. Putin would also like to make sure that they stop the brain drain, and that is going to be people from the former Soviet satellites who are leaving the country. So what you're going to see is a lot of incentives for people to stay. So they've got a mega grant program that was started that is going to set aside $428 million for scientists to stay in the country. High technology inventors are also encouraged to shift their investment from the Western banks back to Russia. There's also a new innovation center that's going to be built that's going to open, that has currently 100 companies with 15,000 employees. But when this is going to be completed, it's going to contain 850 capital ventures, technology firms, and also startups. The government also is trying to reduce the amount of capital that is leaving Russia with harsh non-anti-offshore bills requiring Russian citizens and firms to inform tax authorities of all foreign transactions. So the government officials are not allowed to maintain foreign bank accounts anymore or own property abroad. All these factors are due to the combination of issues in Russia, and the economy has been steadily decreasing since the end of the Soviet Union. So what you're going to start to see is that you're going to start to see during key time periods of history, starting with Boris Yeltsin, who's going to be the first Russian president, switching from a command economy to capitalism was a little bit more difficult than they thought. Business leaders basically didn't know how to actually run a capitalistic system. Manufactured products were relatively poorly in quality, and also you couldn't get the quantity that was necessary. Businesses had a hard time getting workers and figuring out wages and setting prices. To make sure things did not get worse, you started to see an increase in corruption that was acceptable in Russia. So you've got bribery, fraud, embezzlement, and kickbacks that are part of the communist system that are continued under capitalism. Employment, again, no longer guaranteed. So businesses were not able to make a profit. Unemployment is going to increase, which is going to leave thousands in poverty. The answer to many of this was to leave the country in order to gain a better economic and political freedom in the future. Vladimir Putin, again, the first president, Vladimir Putin's first presidency, because he's going to be president 3 separate times, is going to see continuation of economic problems, and then he's going to have a vice president, Medvedev, who also is going to eventually be elected president. He's going to also see economic problems, and the population is actually going to start to leave because of economic conditions get worse, and basically you're going to see immigration increase as people become more and more dissatisfied with the government, levels of corruption, crackdowns, and also mass protests. So what you guys should do now is you guys have your Russia packet. You should work on completing the Russia map. That's going to be due tomorrow. And then also work on taking notes off of the population slides that are located in Blackboard. Just do the population slides for today. And then tomorrow we will continue on with the rest of our population lecture and the impacts of the other 7 revolutions. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.